Good evening, I'm Jennifer Meckles.
And I'm Kyle Clark. Significant political developments today, from the conviction of former President Donald Trump to news being made in our Republican congressional debate here on 9 News.
First, we want to start with some of your forecasts tonight, because Lauren Robinson is joining us as some severe weather moves to the Denver northern metro. Lauren?
That's right. We do have some severe thunderstorm warnings that have just popped up. So let's go ahead and zoom in. This is going to be just north of Denver. We have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings out there now. One of them is going to be near Broomfield County, Boulder County, Lafayette County, where we do have this really strong storm that's possibly dropping some pretty large hail. We're going to look for maybe up to a quarter-size hail, winds gusting up to around 50 miles per hour. And then we zoom out here, and this is where you can see both of these. Another one has just popped up just east of Fort Lupton. So we're going to continue to monitor both of these severe thunderstorm warnings. One is in effect until 9:30, the other's in effect until 9:45. Again, through the rest of this warning time, we're really going to look for some large hail, damaging winds, heavy downpours, and of course, lots of lightning and thunder. We zoom out a bit to where we've been seeing stronger storms this evening across the eastern plains, central and southern portions of the plains, where we also have a severe thunderstorm warning here as well. And then we have had some flash flood advisories that have been allowed to expire, but we do have a couple of areas with some stronger storms popping up late this evening. But moving ahead to my 7-day forecast, we're going to continue to talk about those late storms. Most of them will be to the east, but some of them just north of the Denver metro area. We're also going to talk about more storm chances Friday and Saturday, and very hot weather ahead for next week. All of those details for you just ahead.
Donald J. Trump has been convicted of 34 counts of falsifying business records.
President Donald Trump made history today, becoming a convicted felon, the first former president to be found guilty on criminal charges. Jury in New York City found Trump falsified business records to influence the 2016 election, a hush money payment to a porn actress to keep their affair from getting out. Trump spoke after today's verdict from that jury.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here.
9 News reporter Rachel Krause is along with more details on this.
Especially what people are asking, Rachel, tonight is how this could impact the presidential election.
Yeah, political experts say this likely won't impact how either side campaigns. Now, as for how people vote, it likely isn't going to change too many minds. But the jury's verdict today could sway some independents. In an election that's expected to be very close, experts say that could make a difference.
Convictions for falsifying business records are really routine. They happen every day across the country, but they don't happen to a former president who is running for president again. That's unprecedented.
Guilty on all 34 counts. The jury's decision to convict Donald Trump, a historic first for this country.
In U.S. history, this is a big deal. This is the first president or former president to be convicted of a felony, and on that face, right, you'd think it would have huge repercussions for the election. However, what we are in a political context of highly polarized, entrenched camps.
MSU Denver political science expert Rob Preuss says don't expect this conviction to dissuade voters.
In some ways, it's going to energize the Republicans a bit. It's going to solidify some of the votes of the Democrats. It may move some independents. But in terms of the big picture, the narrative, not going to change that much.
Preuss says the jury's verdict will likely solidify how both sides campaign, with Republicans sticking to the legal system is out to get me narrative, and Democrats touting you don't want a convicted felon running the country. And Preuss says it says a lot about how polarized our nation's politics have become that a guilty verdict isn't expected to impact the election.
Yeah, well, you know, it's pretty amazing, and I think if you go back 30, 40 years ago, that would be a big problem, and certainly room for a presumptive nominee to drop out and find someone else. Right now, we're in such polarized position that, you know, folks are voting against the other party more so than they're voting for a candidate.
Despite the jury's unanimous decision to convict, 9 News legal analyst Scott Robinson says don't expect the former president to serve any time.
It's hard to believe that any jail or prison time would be imposed on a first-time white-collar defendant of any sort, but one that would require Secret Service protection in a facility such as the Tombs or Rikers Island. It would be an administrative nightmare.
Robinson says expect Trump's jury conviction to be appealed, and that will likely take a year or two to be resolved. For now, Trump's sentencing is set for July 11th. Rachel Krause, 9 News.
Tonight, we saw total Trump allegiance from the 6 GOP candidates in Colorado's safest Republican seat in Congress, 4th Congressional District, Doug Coe, Loveland, and the Eastern Plains. Here along with my co-moderator, Marshall Zellinger. So all the candidates said that they would still vote for Trump, even though he's now a convicted felon. But only Congresswoman Lauren Boebert stood by trying to overturn the 2020 election to keep Trump in power.
Boebert is well known and has a huge cash advantage. It was clear the other candidates view her as the frontrunner. We asked Boebert if she risks making a second safe Republican seat competitive. She nearly lost her current seat before moving across the state to run for a new one.
We did have a very close election, but we also had 50,000 Republicans not show up to vote. I do not believe me being here is making this a vulnerable seat. This is a huge move for conservatives in Colorado.
So just to be clear, Ms. Boebert, you blame Republican voters for the fact that you nearly lost a safe seat and not your own conduct.
When 50,000 Republican voters do not show up and think that their vote does not matter, that does make an impact on elections.
I do think it is vulnerable. I think the day of that will never happen in Colorado is long gone. And I think it's time that we have someone in this seat, which is one of the reasons why I'm running, where we can rebuild the party, where we can make it the big tent again. We can invite people to join us, and we can persuade our neighbors that we don't see them as the enemy.
Follow me with this math.
Yeah.
The voter makeup in Congressional District 4, 47% unaffiliated, 35% Republican, 17% Democrat.
17%?
17, not even half of the Republicans.
Okay,
so
yeah.
it would be quite the feat if a Republican candidate were not to be able to hold on to that seat.
So Boebert's seen as the favorite, right? And no surprise that when it came time for the candidates to be able to ask each other some direct questions, she got some pretty critical ones, like when Republican State Representative Richard Holtorf asked Boebert about her success, or lack thereof, in Congress.
How many bills did you prime sponsor in the U.S. Congress that actually were signed by the President of the United States?
One of my favorite pieces of legislation that has been signed into law is my Pueblo Jobs Act that creates at least 1,000 jobs in Pueblo, Colorado. But there are also many other pieces of legislation that I've passed through the House. And
it doesn't matter if it's passed through the House. If the President doesn't sign it, ma'am,
government, and I'm not going to compromise my principles to just pass a bill that does not honor.
I would give you one more opportunity if you would like to answer his question, which is the number of bills you've prime sponsored that have been signed by the president.
So my Pueblo Jobs Act has been signed into law.
A number, please.
That is one.
That is one. I give her credit, though, that the word choice where she's like, my favorite one is, right? And that's true, because if there's only one, then it would necessarily be her favorite. But yeah, she got hit by a couple of folks from the state legislature who said, you've been completely ineffective. You haven't passed stuff, whereas they've said we were in the minority at the state legislature and still managed to get stuff passed. Different than being in Congress, 100%, but that's the critique.
And the Congresswoman has been in Washington, D.C. as long as President Biden has been president, so she's been up against the leader being a Democrat. And in Colorado, as you say, like in someone like Governor Jared Polis, who's kind of, you know, he's a Democrat, D's next to his name, but you look at the policies over the last 6 years now, it's like, okay, I'm sure if you're a Republican on that stage, there are areas where you would get something passed where maybe in Congress you'd have the same statistics as Congresswoman Boebert.
Most of the candidates on stage tonight support Trump's plan for a mass deportation of more than 10 million people in this country illegally. We're going to get into the details of that at 9:30.
A mother and a father want to know why their son, who was not armed, was shot and killed by Thornton police more than 10 miles outside of Thornton. Today, 9 News Investigates got a look at the body camera recordings of the shooting in Lakewood last month. It also left a woman dead. Investigative reporter Chris Vanderveen spoke with two parents tonight about the questions they have and the anger they feel.
Speeds are 100, no traffic.
It's 3 a.m., April 30th. Two Thornton police officers are in an unmarked vehicle.
My camera's on. Mine too.
One of two unmarked Thornton cars involved in a chase in Lakewood, miles away from their home. As one officer readies a rifle, the other thinks this is about to end.
He's gonna bail out here and shoot at us, hit him.
What happens next happens quickly. The officers bolt from their cars.
Put your hands up!
And will freeze it here. The driver, a woman, had a gun, police believe. The video doesn't show any attempt to use it. The passenger, a man, was unarmed. Even responding Lakewood police officers initially seemed confused.
Shots fired by you guys?
Yes.
That man, the man shot in the head,
He was our son.
Joby's our son.
was the son of Deneen and Frank Vigil, Joby Vigil was 31 years old.
It was like an animal being hunted down to me. That's what it looked like to me.
It's something a parent should never have to see happen to their child.
Joby Vigil worked at Haven of Hope, a nonprofit day shelter. He liked it here, made friends here, allies here.
He was loving. He was always willing to put himself out there to help anybody, no matter what walk of life they came from.
What these body camera videos don't show is what happened before the brief chase. Thornton police initially reported their officers in those unmarked cars were quietly surveilling the car Joby Vigil was in, simply because it had no license plate and for no other reason. They say that surveillance brought them from Thornton to Lakewood, where they say the car fired on them, not far from where the chase came to an end.
They shot at us initially. We were doing a surveillance follow.
That car, the Vigils say, belonged to the driver, a woman.
He had just met her.
A woman living on her own, also in need of help.
He was trying to help her. That's all he was trying to do, was just help her.
Thornton police will not return our calls, will not answer our questions. They will not answer the questions of Joby's parents either. They too saw the videos. They too saw their son die. They're mad, and they absolutely want to know more.
This has changed our life for sure. We're never going to be the same people.
And I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Never.
We should note this is now the third time a quiet surveillance of a vehicle by Thornton police has ended up with a chase and shooting outside of Thornton, one in Denver and another in Douglas County, both last year. The Denver case involved one of the very same officers involved in this shooting. In each of the three instances, the officers were in unmarked cars. In the studio, Chris Vanderveen, 9 News.